Hello and welcome to AutoSave. My name is Camille Hadaway, and I'm here with Mr. Nick Andrade, my co-host. Hello, Nick.
Kim, how are you doing today? How is your Star Wars feeling love going today?
My Star Wars feeling love, I love how you put it that way. It's going good. You know, I feel like the Force may be with us here on the podcast. I don't know if you felt it, but I felt something special after last episode.
Well, I think the Force has been around with us for, since the beginning of AutoSave, but I think now we have gone from Padawans to Jedi Knights in AutoSave, and that's why the Force is very strong with us.
Yes, the Force is really strong with us, and today we're going to continue to let the Force lead us as we journey through Jedi Fallen Order. Last time on AutoSave.
Thanks for the help. But who are you people?
My name is Sir Junda, and this is my captain, Grease Dritus.
How you doing? Yeah, the Mantis is my ship, but you better pay attention to this lady here.
So, who are you?
Cal Kestis.
So we got to know our protagonist, Cal Kestis, a Jedi Padawan hiding out as a scrapper on Bracca. After the loss of his close friend, Cal feels that he has Inquisitors tail him, and he barely escapes with the help of his former Jedi Knight Seer and her shipmate, Grease. That's how he escapes, and it was a heated one. It was lots of action-packed, and we land on their ship, Stinger Mantis. We go to Bracca, and we also meet a new droid companion, BD-1. We discover that Jedi Master Cordova hid in an ancient vault a holocron with a list of Force-sensitive children that could be the key to restoring the Jedi Order, with the next generation of the Jedi taking on the Empire. We already discussed that the Force is with us here on AutoSave, but it is definitely ramping up. We are only one chapter deep, going into our second chapter as we cover Zeffo and the Tomb of Ilfram. So I have to ask you, do you feel like there's a lot of story here already? Maybe too much?
Yeah, it's definitely, especially in chapter 1, it crammed a lot of story in really fast. I think the cutscenes were, one after the other. So they gave us a lot of information, but I think now hopefully we can kind of ease into gameplay, ease into the story a little bit. A lot has happened so far. I don't really trust Seer at the moment. Mm-hmm. I think she has maybe another agenda. But the most important thing out of all of this, Cam, is that there's a New York accent in the game, which means that there is, in the Star Wars universe and galaxy, a New York type accent, which is great because that also teams up with the Boston accent from a one Bill Burr who was on The Mandalorian. So it is canon that there is a forget about it accent and a clam chowder accent in Star Wars.
Say chowder.
Yeah.
Chowder. Yeah, there's definitely some American accents happening, but you gotta love it. I have a question of the day. Yes. We talked about the many characters, specifically stormtroopers, because it seems like they always suck at their job. But despite their flaws, we continue to have such a fascination with them. So why do we have that fascination if they're not great fighters? And do you think there'll ever be a stormtrooper redemption story?
Well, I think we're fascinated with them because they look so cool, right? But their accuracy is just abysmal. I think in this game, they have good accuracy, but we can deflect with our lightsaber. But in the movies, they just, can't shoot anything.
No.
That's just the way it is. The sad thing of all this, Cam, is there was a stormtrooper redemption story in Star Wars with Finn.
Yes.
And they only covered it for one movie. And then they're like, Finn, guess what? You're a side character. And I am so frustrated with the way that they handled Finn, because there could have been so much potential with an ex-stormtrooper who went rogue, and they just flubbed it after the first movie. And it was a little frustrating. But that whole saga for me is frustrating, which is not what this show is about. We could get into this on another Baby
I think
Patreon
we
episode.
have. We have already got
Yes, we
into
have.
this.
We
Well,
have.
we're going to have to see if we can get in. We're going to try to avoid getting into it every single episode of Fallen Order because it's just bring up memories of the past. But you're right. Yeah, I guess Finn was that redemption story. They didn't quite go as far as we wanted it to go. But I think we do like the silliness that stormtroopers bring in the fact that they now are memed to death over their lack of accuracy. Finn's a good redemption story.
There's another one, which is also
Okay.
a waste, which was Captain Phasma, who was
Phasma.
so cool in her, I don't know what, like silver armor or whatever it was.
Yeah.
She just could have been a badass in general.
Yeah.
And she kind of died in, oh wait, is spoiler alert? Maybe potentially.
Spoiler alert, but you should have saw
Ish.
the movie already.
That's true. She died in The Last Jedi,
Yeah.
which I don't think was also like, she could have been in this story as a main antagonist with whoever else was the main antagonist.
True. But like the stormtrooper pick I had, she was badass, and that is the redemption story of stormtroopers. They're always memed. We want to take them
That's true.
seriously.
Good
So
point.
I will say that counts as a redemption story. We're going to have to see as we go through a Fallen Order if we will find other stormtrooper redemption stories, because throughout this chapter, we're actually going to be facing off against a lot of them. But you're going to have to stay tuned right here on AutoSave.
Think of a storm brewing down there. This might not be the best time to land.
Something strange. Those winds are interfering with our comms.
Hey, Cordova mentioned something about peace in the eye of the storm. Well, I can just make out a settlement in the middle of it.
Then we have to get there.
Copy that. Couple bumps ain't gonna kill you, kid. Unless the wind picks up. Can you tell that bucket of balls to keep his opinion to himself?
I'm sure everything's under control.
Of course, it's under control. It's just a little tricky.
A storm is brewing, and we land right in the center of it. And, you know, it actually seems very peaceful when you land on Zeffo. It's kind of like the snowy, barren planet. And for some reason, there's no enemies to greet you as you land.
Zero.
Like none.
None.
It's so weird.
I was looking near and far, and I was like expecting something to pop out and like attack
Yeah.
me. Nobody.
Yeah, I was so overly cautious just in like my first few steps. I'm like, oh, something's gonna happen, because we all know nothing could be too peaceful in the world of Star Wars. Anyways, we set out on Cordova's path, which leads us through a mountain path to a cave, and we find a stormtrooper body, and we learn that the Empire is near. So I don't know if they know about this list. Like, we really don't know how they're following us, but at least we think they're not following us because they would have obviously been greeting us if we landed on Zeffo.
From what I gauged, at least, I don't think they know about the list yet.
Mm-hmm.
They do have like an empire set up somewhere around this planet. I'm not really sure where it is. But again, there's also a lot of beasts there that are killing stormtroopers. So it doesn't look like it's a
Yeah.
good time for the Empire as well. At first, I didn't even know where to go, to be honest. There's so many doors.
There's so
and
many doors.
pathways.
There's like 3
Yes.
different pathways that you could go, but if you do try to go, eventually you will meet a dead end because you can't go that way. So, or you'll just find yourself like circling back around. So the best way to go is to the right, to the mountain path, where you find the stormtrooper's body. And we also interact with a few skazes, which are like these rat-like creatures that just
Hate
pop
them.
out of the ground.
Ugh.
When you least expect it. You'll be fighting one, and then another scaz just pops out of nowhere and starts fighting you. But the best part is they also fight the stormtroopers, like Nick said. So like you have this like really cool, you know, kind of way you could go into battle by using the scazes to attack the stormtroopers.
Oh yeah, that helps too. And in general, like enemies that are not Empire related, they do attack stormtroopers. So if you kind of like hang back a little bit, you can get them to fight each other and like get a little damage off each other, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, just get a bucket of popcorn and watch the show as it unfolds. Now, along the way, we climb some rocks, slide down a slippery path or a few slippery paths, and even fight a heavy assault trooper that's armed with a machine gun and a shield. And I have to say, like, we talked about stormtroopers kind of being memes, but some of these stormtroopers, like this heavy assault stormtrooper, mean business.
Yes.
Like, so intense for no reason. Like, I'm just here trying to walk through this cave. Just let me go. No big deal. But like with this heavy assault stormtrooper, you actually have to get as close to it as possible in order to like strike it down, because even if you parry your attacks, the shield is protecting the trooper.
If you deflect enough, though, it does get rid of the shield.
Hold on. Oh, you know what we should say? What difficulty are you playing on? I don't think we've actually established this.
That's a good point. I'm playing Jedi Knight. What are you playing on?
Master.
You're playing on Master?
No, I made the mistake.
Good luck, Cam. R.I.P. Camille Salazar Hadaway.
It is so difficult. So yeah, I guess depending on the difficulty you're playing, you may have a chance if you parry enough, but you do have to try to either hold down the parry for long enough or get as close to this heavy assault trooper as possible. We'll talk about difficulties near the end of the show, because there's lots of stories here. Now, after a few fights, we find ourselves in an ancient Zeffo village with a meditation circle where you could heal up and obviously upgrade your skills if you have enough skill points. As we continue through, you'll find a cave where you'll have to light the way and slow a few wind turbines to create a path so you could jump over. You have to be careful though, because like there are stormtroopers shooting at you while like at the last turbine shooting at you while you're trying to jump, and I kept dying there.
Well, I mean, now that we know that you're at Master, that might be a common theme, because this game, I think the degree of difficulty is very high.
Yes.
Which I noticed. I think I did start Master at some point when I first started playing the game. And, you know, unfortunately, I want to say I'm a great gamer, but it was a little too difficult for me.
Yeah,
so
no, I may downgrade it.
I think you can downgrade while you're playing. You can.
Yes.
Which is also a great feature. But Jedi Knight for me, easy. And then, yeah, the slides, like you need to practice with a lot of these things, I notice, with the game. Even like, you know, with your lightsaber, with these ice slides, with a bunch of things, like you need to do it multiple times in order to get good at it. It's not, which I like about this game. It's not just like,
it's not a walk in the park.
Plug and play. It's not a walk in the park. You have to practice your skills,
especially because you're gonna be going up against goat-like creatures. They're phallics, and they'll charge at you once you land on the other side of this turbine path. There's also, like I mentioned, stormtroopers and a rocket launcher stormtrooper, which you cannot. I've tried to really parry. I thought I could parry a rocket.
I've done that too before.
You cannot.
No. At first, I would like stand there and I just hold my lightsaber up and then just get blown up by the rocket launcher. I'm like, oh, you just have to like try to run as fast as possible away from it.
Yeah, apparently, you know, although our perception deceives us, being a Jedi does not mean you're invincible. You will get demolished by that rocket. Now, as you continue through, there's going to be doors which you can't open and unbreakable rocks. That's not quite breakable yet. So despite all the roadblocks we'll see, you just kind of have to find your way to this tunnel. And then you're going to see a light at the end of the tunnel because we find...
Seer, there's a transport ship leaving the Empire's base.
I heard. They plan to bring Zeffo artifacts to Coruscant.
Does that mean?
That the Emperor is interested in Zeffo? Maybe.
That's right, the Empire isn't only there, they're clearly on a mission and have an agenda. But what are they looking for? We still don't know. So we're going to continue through and we're going to hear some troopers, which is I love the dialogue of the troopers because it just reminds me that they're just everyday clones. They may look alike, they all may look alike, but they have their same concerns. They don't want to be here. These troopers are talking about how they're tired about being on Zeffo, but the Empire's digging, and they've found some artifacts, but it doesn't really matter because really, I don't know what stormtroopers know. They're like the bottom of the barrel. Do they really even know the real plans? Should we even take the dialogue that they have like into consideration?
Yeah, it's a good point. It's a good point because like they always seem like such goofy like antagonists where they don't even know what's going on. So it's like the generals, you seem like they know what they're going on, but like the foot soldiers never seem like they quite know exactly what's going on. I also want to point out, I don't think they're clones anymore.
Oh, yes, that's true. They are not clones anymore.
Right?
Well, actually, no. This should be after 5 years after Order 66. I think a lot of them would be clones still.
I see. I don't know the lore. Like, I don't know the background of this story. Like, when did they not become clones? When did the Emperor was like, peace out, Jango Fett clones? That's maybe a story for another day because we don't know off the top of our head.
We gotta look into that. Because I would figure. I mean, 5 years isn't a lot of time in a war to hunt down. Like, you wouldn't want to kill off all the clones. You would still want the clones around, right? They did betray the Jedi Order, so they're loyal.
Yes.
So I wonder if they are still clones. But we do know that they don't like their job because you hear a lot of them complain. And we probably suspect that the Empire isn't really on an archaeological dig and have something more, down their sleeves. But we learn more after we stumble across a communications from a trooper.
In accordance with the Emperor's will, we've occupied Zeffo, redistributing its inhabitants. This planet has failed to yield significant data or relics for Project Augur. Its electromagnetic winds have rendered the bulk of our mining technology useless. Meanwhile, more stormtroopers lose their lives to dangerous fauna. We will not be able to fulfill our directive here. It is my recommendation that we disband the project and leave a token outpost to keep scavengers from stealing our technology.
Project Augur looked to redistribute its inhabitants, which is why I guess Zeffo is so barren. Like, there are no people, even though we're in these villages. I understand there's some ancient villages, but there still should be some people, and we hear echoes.
Yes.
Right? When we're going through, Cal do his echo force thing, and we hear that there's struggles with troopers and the former citizens of Zeffo, and that they put up a fight as well.
From what I can tell, there was an ancient civilization that lived on Zeffo, right?
Yeah.
But they're long gone, and they've been long gone. And they're the Force-sensitive people, right? That the statues are built of.
Yes.
But then there was actual people that had lived on Zeffo, and that they were basically slaughtered by the Empire. And they did fight back. I think there was a war, and they lost that war. I think we learn more about it later. But that's where all these echoes come from. It's all sad. Villagers crying, babies crying, mothers trying to protect their sons and daughters and stuff like that. It's kind of disturbing.
It is.
It makes you think about, like, again, Star Wars might be all fun and games in terms of, like, I don't know, in the movies, it might be fantasized, but this is really taking us on a ground level on what war is like. And it's not so like, in movies or whatever, like, you kill 18 stormtroopers and it's whatever. And I even think in this game, like, you're killing a bunch of stormtroopers in this game, but it kind of, with the echoes,
had it coming.
Yeah, it's true. But with the echoes, it kind of shows, just how bad war is, because it doesn't just show us echoes from these inhabitants. It also shows us from, like, dead stormtroopers as well, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, it is pretty cool. I think usually in, at least popular Star Wars media, we see it from the Empire versus the Jedi front, with maybe hints of, like, how the Empire is affecting different planets. But usually we see it that the people on those planets just go along with whatever the Empire says because they don't want to disturb the peace. They don't want any trouble. But, like, the Empire is really disturbing how people live, and not only going after the Jedi, they are, like, trying to conquer planets and will destroy anyone in their path. So this is just, like, that reminder that this is happening. I'm really curious about what this project is all about, because it feels like it's gonna be like this huge plot point, because everything just kind of, they're talking about that, and they have this huge, like, base set up here, which apparently is for this project. So we'll have to see what all that is about.
I mean, my first guess is it has to do with something like force sensitive wise, right? I feel like they know about the Zeffo just as much as the Jedi and Cordova, and that maybe they're interested in it. Yeah, I would think so.
I mean, it's too much of a coincidence if they're on Zeffo and like just completely occupying it.
I agree.
But we're going to have to figure out what that is later on. Hopefully we do in this chapter. But we keep going and we encounter these massive hydraulic devices that you have to force hold in order to run across them. I died so many times because you're holding them to kind of jump on this platform. But then there's also the backside of them where they close into you, like close in. And for some reason, I couldn't force hold for that long, although I upgraded my skills to do that.
I didn't have an issue because in my first gameplay, when I first played this, when the game came out, I only got through, I think, Zeffo, Kashyyyk, and then Zeffo again. And that was the last thing I did. So because I was lost in the reason why I stopped playing the game to begin with is because I got lost on Zeffo. And I didn't know, I didn't use my map properly, which I'm doing now in this game, which is helping me a lot, which is why I was lost. And so I did the hydraulics thing like 8 million times trying to find out where I had to go. So that memory for me, like 3-4 years ago, kicked in while playing this, and I was really good at that part.
Okay, you're really good because you're like, okay, you went through the battle. I thought the trauma would have kicked in of like, oh no, this is why I left.
It has for a bit, and I'll mention where it does. There are some pain points.
But my thing is, like, did the former inhabitants build this? Because, like, with the stormtroopers complaining that, like, everything's trying to kill them on this planet, why would you build such dangerous technology that legit kills you and squishes you? I don't know. I'll never understand the Empire, but I guess we're not meant to. Now, you'll have to fight some troopers, and it seems that they don't know about Cordova yet because we don't hear any of them mention Cordova. So it seems like Project Augur is something else, but may be around the force sensitive kids, but we still don't know yet. There are lots of wall running. You'll find yourself in a cave, and then you'll stumble across the windswept ruins and a meditation point where you can use to heal up.
Can't get through. There's a storm up ahead. Something about it crippled the Empire's equipment. I can feel something pulling me there, beyond the storm.
Follow it. Let the Force sharpen your instinct.
All right. I'll do my best.
So obviously that's where we gotta go, right? Cal feels something pulling him towards the direction of the eye of the storm. And this to me obviously is screaming Cordova.
Is it?
Yes.
To me, it's screaming the ancient Zeffo.
Oh, see, I was like, no, this is Cordova's path because he sent us here. Like, honestly, through this, I wasn't even heavily thinking about the ancient Zeffo because a lot of what you learn about them has to be through the echoes. That's one thing about this game as well, I've noticed. The echoes are really important. Like, you know, other games you'll be going through and, like, you'll pick up intel, but, like, it really doesn't mean much or, like, it's just add-on to the story. The echoes that Cal feels throughout, even though like you can cancel out of them, please listen to them because it tells you a lot about the story, which will get you interested in like the ancient Zeffos. Because I was on Jedi Master, I was trying to survive. So sometimes I would cancel out of those echoes. So to me, I didn't click in with the like ancient Zeffos, everything that was going on, till I reached the eye of the storm. So for me, this was Cordova, but we'll soon learn that it's not quite.
I'm on the same wavelength in terms of like echoes, trying to like they are important in this game and they tell a story. I think they weave within the story, which I think is important. Most people might not care, but I think it really paints a picture of what's going on each planet and fills in the blanks. There's a bunch of story, I think, not that it's missing, but I think that they strategically put that there in terms of echoes to kind of fill in the blanks of things that we might be missing. But again, I'm not sure what Cordova has planned, so that's why it never really came to my mind.
Well, Nick's in with all the Zeffos, And we're going to continue through to a door that's on the left of that meditation point. You'll find another cave, which is, surprise, surprise, there's a lot of caves and a lot of slippery slopes on Zeffo.
If you don't pay attention to where you're going to another part of Zeffo that is for the next mission.
Yeah.
And I did that many times. It's why I got lost the first time I played. And I just wanted to make sure I went down to this ice cave that has nothing to do with this mission, just to make sure. But again, the map really helps because it gives you yellow doors that are kind of like,
yes,
they tell you that's somewhere you can go. The red doors aren't. Green, I believe are.
You've been through.
I thought they were just
through,
like
right?
you can force something with them. That's what I thought they were.
Oh, yeah. Sorry. You're right.
Okay.
It's the green is that you could force push it.
Yes.
Like they're breakable doors,
Yes.
breakable doors.
Again, if you pay attention enough, this is why I was frustrated before, but now playing again, I realize if I just listened to what the game is telling me, I could find out where to go. So with the cave, I didn't get lost this time. I managed to get all the way back up to find the next area that we had to go. But it is interesting that these places are unlocked even though we can't use them right now. So I can understand why people could get confused while they play this.
Oh, it's very confusing. But if you find the cave with a golden sphere
Yes.
and the storm circling around it, that is the right place to be. You'll have to actually force hold the rocks that are caught up and picked up in the storm so you don't get hurt. Did you get hurt along the way, Nick?
Yes, there's a couple times I think I slowed them down too fast while I wasn't there enough, and then the rocks span. Yeah. It's a cool sequence, though. It looks really...
It is really cool.
Really, really cool. Especially that giant spear I know you love so much.
The sphere. Once you go in where the giant sphere is, you'll find like a button that you could stand on, and that will take you to the tomb of Elram. Now, as we go down the lift, I guess it's a lift, we hear an ancient lift. Everything has to be ancient when it's like we're dealing with the Zeffo. An ancient lift. We hear a recording of Cordova that speaks that this may be actually the earliest Zeffo site he's discovered. And even though he's so fascinated with that, he still cannot forget about the Bogana vault, which just tells me it's all linked and we'll probably be revisiting all these places later on in the game as well. Now, this is the first real puzzle area of the game where there are different gold spheres that you'll have to move into holes using the wind within the temple. It could get really complicated, and like the rest of Zeffo, you could get lost very easily. But for every ball that you solve, you actually gain a new essence at the beginning. So make sure that you solve all these puzzles. How did you find like the first couple? So this is like just the ones that you moved to get the essence. How did you find manipulating the sounds of the wind? I was going to go into song.
Love it. The first one was the most difficult one for me.
Yes.
Which was it was the main room with the 4 windpipes. And I think the sphere, I don't want to call it a ball. The sphere was going in a square, right? And
yes.
you had to make it sure that it went into the center. For the life of me, I couldn't figure out how to get into the center, and it took a lot of trial and error to get it. But once I did, then I moved on. And there's a couple spheres where I'm not really sure what to do with them.
Yeah.
But then
we kind of learn. Yeah, we kind of learn as we go what to do with them.
I feel like I'm in school again.
No,
because I'm like, okay, that goes there. The wind
that goes there.
Ooh.
What is that like when you're in like a toddler and there's that like thing you move around? Like it's like these spheres.
Oh, it's like in the doctor office, right?
Yeah, and like you move
it
around and there's different colors.
That's what it is.
It's kind of it kind of slides like an abacus, but it's all like twirly and loopy. It's fun.
I felt like if a teacher gave me a star in that when I did that, like I felt like joy of figuring it out. You know what I mean? Like
figuring it out. Yeah, Cordova just shows up. Good job. And you're like, that would have been a cool addition. But as you go through these first couple puzzles, although they are a little bit, they're not difficult, but they're kind of a challenge. They're the easier ones of the ones that you will encounter later on. So as you go through, it'll feel like you hit a dead end because you'll see this ball in a pendulum and it just swings back and forth. You do have...
I thought it was a dead end.
I thought it was a dead end too. I spent like 15 minutes trying to figure out where I'm supposed to go. And if you look closely on the pendulum, you'll actually see like the little grating, which shows that this pendulum's climbable. So what you have to do is use the valve to open the wind turbine, and then it'll swing the ball like a pendulum. Yep. And then you could actually jump onto it and then jump onto the other side.
But because that ball is there, I thought instinctually I have to do something with it.
Yes.
But you don't do anything with it right away.
Yeah.
Like you have to move on to the next area, but you're going to have to use that eventually.
Exactly. It's very, very...
Yeah. They're
trying to like mess with your mind here by
trial
thinking
and
you have
error.
to do
That's
one
all
thing.
it is, right?
Yeah, it is trial and error, but it could get frustrating sometimes. So luckily for you, on the other side of that pendulum, there's a meditation point. You could sit there, have a little rest, recuperate your thoughts, and then continue going forward. Now, after this, you actually are put with the next sphere, or you see the next sphere that you have to put in the hole. And then there is an area in there with heavy winds and platforms that you're going to have to jump through once you actually complete that sphere. These platforms are going to lift up, and then you're going to have to actually jump on them and continue to investigate. Now, with this platform, there's lots of wind just blowing around like no one cares. And if you try to jump to another platform, you'll probably die the first few times because you're going to line up your jump perfectly. The key here is not to do that. You don't want to line up your jump. You want to act suicidal and jump like you're going to fall to your death. So the wind pushes you onto the platform. This was actually very frustrating for me because the wind, like you have to really overcompensate your jumps here. Like the wind is gonna blow you away.
It's what I like about this game. Honestly, it can be frustrating, but I like that aspect of you can't just willy-nilly do whatever the hell you want. And I can understand frustration with it, but I kind of find it nice that you have to be precise. Just like a Jedi, just like in real life, you can't just wing it. You have to make sure that you hit the wind properly, you bounce up properly, you climb something. I guess I know you're frustrated with the climb feature, but let's say in real life, you're trying to climb a wall, you have to grab with your fingers,
grab
right?
onto it. Yeah,
you can't just be like, beep, and then hopefully hope for the best. So I get that, but I understand the frustration.
Yeah, life's supposed to be a video game. It's supposed to be easy, but yeah. So you also have though they put these skunkus like enemies that explode when you get close to them. So once you jump across those platforms, you're going to see like a row of those enemies.
Yeah.
But luckily for you, and this I actually spent a little bit of time on as well because they weren't going anywhere. I was trying to figure out how to get rid of them so I can move forward. But if you just keep moving forward towards them, the wind will eventually blow them away. And the wind will also help you jump across further to the next area where you're going to face a tomb guardian.
Oh, God.
Now, the tomb guardians are scary just because they're like all metallic or metally and like golden and just look like badasses. How'd you find going up against these guys?
Well, I can only imagine how you felt on Master mode because they're pretty difficult on Jedi Knight mode.
They are.
Again, a lot of the enemies, they all have their own mechanics. And if you just try to hack and slash with your lightsaber, it doesn't work.
No.
So you really have to figure out their weaknesses and their slow points and when they recharge something or jump and attack, you have to, like I noticed with these Tomb Guardians, you have maybe 3 strikes that you can have total before its next move. So I strike it 3 times with lightsaber and then I try to jump away, or I use slow down, hack for a bit, and then move as soon as the slow wears off. You got to be really strategic in fighting these guys.
Yeah, you definitely have to be strategic. And some lessons I've learned from this game is look at the environments around you, especially if you are playing on Master, because the Tomb Guardian is like takes a lot of damage off of you. Like you maybe can't even get hit once, depending. So there's a Skungus that's in the area. You could actually use that to do massive damage to the Guardian because it'll explode, right? So it's about using the environment around you and the enemies around you to go after the Tomb Guardian, which was really
Hilarious
helpful
name,
for me.
by the way, Skungus.
Skungus.
But that's smart. I honestly didn't even think
Yeah.
about that. That's great. This is why you're a Jedi Master.
Thank you. I actually learned from Master Kenobi because every time I was like watching Obi-Wan Kenobi, and even like through the first movies, he often goes the path of less effort. Like he's either jumping or like uses another creature to like take away a bunch of stormtroopers. So I really just learned from Master Kenobi.
Nice. Good job. Using
Yeah.
Star
And now
Wars
I am the
to
master.
your benefit. That's amazing.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you. Now, once you defeat this Tomb Guardian, you head down the corridor to interact with a crumbled wall, and it will trigger a flashback.
Focus. The Jedi do not seek aggression, but we stand against it. The Force is there to shield us. The obstacles in your path define the path. What stands in the way becomes the way. Now, try again. Try again. Good. Continue. Faster now. Complete the test.
What stands in the way becomes the way. Did it.
Now, Cal's master is a good master. Every time we have these flashbacks to like when Cal was training, I just want to like, with calligraphy that I don't know how to do, just write these quotes and like hang them up in my office.
I think
So wise.
You should-
So wise.
You should get banners.
Yeah, just banners for every Jedi quote. Now, we now have the ability, because we unlocked Force Push, which allows you to kill enemies, obviously, or push them away from you, but also you could access new areas. Remember those rocks that kind of seemed like they were breakable, but you couldn't? Well, now you're able to break them. I really do like how they use these flashbacks to make Cal one with the Force again.
Yeah, and I've been waiting for Force Push. I thought that was going to be the first
Same
Force
here.
ability I thought we were going to get, but I was really excited for this because when you think of the light side of the Force, when you think of the Jedi, you think of Force Push. That's like their go-to Force ability. So I was super excited to unlock this. And again, there's so many different avenues that we can now go around and do, and even just push away enemies, which is way better than the slowdown ability.
Oh, it is so much better. Yeah, Force Push was one I was looking forward to, but I am also looking forward to whenever we unlock Force Pull. I find that just the coolest ability for Jedis. Now we hear Cordova give us some details on our next destination, Kashyyyk, and an old friend he has there. But first, we have to find our way out of the tomb, which means we have to fight another Tomb Guardian. Now, we are equipped with Force Push, and that ability helps us defeat this Tomb Guardian more because like you could push it and then the sphere out of the head of it, is it the head or like the center of it, like just leaves its body, and then you could like put a bunch of blows onto it.
Yeah, I'm so excited now that we have a way better strategy to fight these Tomb Guardians, because they're a pain. So to be able to like push their heart out of their chest, I guess that's what it is.
Yeah.
And slow them down. It's especially when they do their like raid wide AoE attack thing.
Yes, yeah.
And you can just cancel it out by force pushing, and that comes in handy real solidly.
Real solid. And as you go through the long corridor that you previously were actually making your way through to the tomb, you'll find walls that aren't so solid. You'll find cracked walls that you could access chests through. And obviously to do that, you just use the force push ability. You could also find your way to like different areas and caverns to unlock echoes and chests as well. But you know how I played. I continued back to the first puzzle, which is where you're going to go. And you couldn't really solve it at first, but now you can, because with force push, you could push the sphere into the hole that it's supposed to go.
Yes.
And we actually have 3 spheres that we have to solve. This was the most confusing thing, like puzzle. And I'm a puzzle person. We've talked about this on the show before. I love puzzles. This was a very confusing puzzle just because this tomb is like a maze. You could get lost super easily or just go into a different area you're not supposed to go into. But to solve these 3 spheres, you have to get all the spheres first in the central room. Now you already have one there. And if you push it to the left where the hole is, it'll raise a bunch of platforms. And that's where you found that guardian, that first guardian. So if you climb through, you'll see a second ball and you could push that down onto a ramp into the central area. The second sphere, I was going to say ball again. The second sphere is that pendulum ball. Remember Nick said you felt like you were supposed to do something with that. Well, now is the time. You actually have to force push it into this cracked wall and it will fall and break, revealing the sphere that you have to work with. From there, you could go back into the central room and use the winds to push it up. And the wind that's blowing through the central room already that you would have unlocked will actually catch it and send the ball flying into the higher platform. From there, you got to climb up to that platform and then just force push the sphere into a hole, which will reveal more ramps. And the second ball, you send along the same path to those ramps, but it'll fall into a loop with the wind pushing it. And you actually have to force slow the sphere down and then push it into the hole, which was like a little bit tricky for me.
Oh, is that what you did?
Catch it. It's just, yeah, it's on an endless. How'd you do that? That's the way. I think that's the way you're supposed to do it. That's what? What'd you do?
I just used force push once, and then it stopped the ball.
Oh, okay.
You slowed it down easier to make sure.
Yeah.
Did you use push
to line
it all
it
of
up? Because I tried to actually do the force push first,
okay,
but I ended up hitting it back down to the main floor.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so I missed. My accuracy was off. Obviously not as good as yours, Nick.
No.
So I had to slow it down and then use the force push so I can line up my shot.
It's really cool too. I like this whole aspect of like it's going through like almost like a pinball machine, and then the wind is lifting it up. I think it crushes some rocks at one point too.
Yes.
One of them. And then that one spins, and then the other one you have to push that way, and just to unlock it. It's very satisfying, though. It's like a fun little mini game almost.
Yeah, it is very satisfying when you finish this puzzle, and that's the best part about puzzles. So I think they really did a good job here. From here, when you solve all these 3 spheres, you can head back to the left where you initially came from and make your way back to the mantis.
What did you find?
The Zeffo went to Kashyyyk. Cordova mentioned someone named Tarful.
A Wookiee chieftain. They were old friends.
Think he's still around?
There's only one way to find out. We have to go to Kashyyyk.
That's my Wookiee impression.
That's a horrible Wookiee impression.
It was? What's your Wookiee impression? Oh, okay, yeah. Real nice, eh? Calling my Wookiee impression
So
out,
much
and that's
better than
your
yours.
Wookiee impression. Okay. That sounds like a dying dog.
That's a Wookiee. Actually, no, they live really long.
They do.
They don't die for a very long
very
time.
long.
Yeah, very, very long. But yeah, we are pretty much done the mission. However, Nick's favorite thing, a boss battle is triggered.
I think I'm done. You know this is pointless. Get back here.
Hey, Seer, I'm under an Imperial dig site. They got a lot further than we thought.
We can't worry about that now. The Empire's identified you as the Jedi from Bracca. They're searching for the Mantis as we speak.
Can't you move the Mantis?
It's too risky to start the engine. Its power discharge will draw their attention immediately.
I'll be back as fast as I can.
Cal, we've got a walker firing on us, and our weapons are down.
Is that him? Tell him he better get his butt.
Hold on, I'm on my way.
We have to go up against an ATST walker that is attacking the Mantis. This, I as soon as I hit this point, I was like, Nick's gonna have a blast. How'd you find this battle between the ATST?
So fun. It's so loved
fun.
it. At first you're almost like intimidated. You're like, how am I gonna fight this giant thing? Just add, like, I thought, okay, are you gonna give me like a turret gun or something? But no, you have to just attack with your lightsaber.
Yeah,
and it was so fun.
It was so fun. So for this one, as soon as like it triggered the battle, I'm like, oh my gosh, how am I gonna do this? So I hid behind a bunch of the crates that are so elegantly and neatly placed in the right positions to provide cover from the ATST because I went in full panic mode. But then when I, meditated a bit and became one with the Force, I calmed down and I realized that you could actually parry its normal shots. I don't know why I didn't think about that from the beginning. I think I just thought, like, it's this big walker. There's no way that we're going to be able to parry this.
Yeah.
But you can parry the shots. And I found that was very helpful in order to, I guess, create some time where you could get close enough to the ATST and kind of attack its legs.
Yeah, I went ham on its legs. I just tried to dodge the minefields. Like, if you attack his legs too much, then they throw some like bombs right in that direction.
Yes.
So I just hack and slash as much as possible until he does the grenades, and then run away, and then do that over and over, and hopefully he doesn't shoot me because I'm super close to him. Or it.
Yeah. Well, I think that is the strategy there. Avoid the grenades. And remember, this is an ATST. It is a lot bigger than normal enemies, so you cannot force push it. But it can be slowed down, which could also help you get a little bit closer to get some attacks in. But after that's pretty much it. That once you take out the ATST, that is the end of Chapter 2 as we head back to the Mantis and to make our way to Kashyyyk to continue on Cordova's path. Now, after the break, we'll break down our final thoughts on this chapter and our gameplay right here on AutoSave.
How are you holding up?
And with the Force?
Yes, with the Force. I know you said it could be overwhelming.
Haven't gotten myself killed yet. Rather not talk about it.
Yeah, well, I understand. More than you realize.
Why'd you choose to stop using the Force?
When the Purge started, and our clone troops turned against us, my Padawan and I took several younglings and we went into hiding, but we didn't last long. Imperial Patrol was about to discover our location, so I tried to lure them away from my Padawan Trilla. She stayed behind with the younglings, but they caught me. And they tortured me. They wanted to know about the others and how many were left, but mostly they wanted to know about Cordova and where he went.
But you escaped.
Yeah. It was a prison riot. I saw my opportunity and I took it. But they almost broke me. And I am not the same as I was, Cal.
Your Padawan. Did she survive?
No.
So at the end of this chapter, we actually learn quite a bit about Cere. About her Padawan and how she's not the same after being captured by the Empire and tortured for information. So, for this, I have to ask, at the end of going through this, we've kind of had Cere in our head as well, talking to us as we went through this mission to the tomb. Do you feel like you could trust her more or less?
That's tough. I trust her more based on her story, but I feel like she's still missing there's some gaps here. So my instinct here right away in playing this was that her Padawan was still alive.
Oh, really?
That's just my guess. That's my guess.
Actually, yes. You know what? I felt that too because she said a little bit too quickly when he's like, did your Padawan survive? No. Right? Like she was very quick and didn't really seem like that answer phased her.
Yes.
Like I feel like she is hiding details from Cal that makes me question her loyalty. Like this is a generation away, right? If you think about this list, force sensitive kids, you still have to train them. You have to let them become masters and then they will fight the Empire. Like I know the Jedi are patient, but come on, that's a lot of suffering, a lot of decades of like Empire rule. So my thing is like her fascination around this list, I don't know if it's for the right causes that we like or for the right reasons we think it's for, and especially because she's been interrogated by the Empire. I'm curious to if there's another agenda that may be on the Empire's.
Really?
Like maybe could she be hired by the Empire? Like I don't know. I just don't trust her. I trust her less.
Yeah, I can see that. Maybe she's trying to redeem herself losing her Padawan, so helping these force sensitive children. However, it just screamed to me again. Padawan's still alive. There's some story that is going to be involved here, in my opinion at least, that she's hiding from Cal, which I don't think is fair to Cal because Cal is now taking over on this mission and doing the things that she needs to be doing, but she is no longer a Jedi. So to be honest, like she needs to be more honest with him, and it definitely feels like she's hiding a bunch of stuff. That is only what I don't like is that she's hiding things, I think. Like she's telling Cal things that he needs to hear in order to help her through her journey. Yeah. And I don't like that.
Yeah. Oh, you're protective of Cal. I love that. Yeah, because you're seeing like this change of Cal. Like think about it. Cal was this Jedi Padawan in hiding for years, feeling like he's not doing anything, you know, to fight the Empire. He's just kind of accepted his fate. Like, this is what it is. But now you hear him so excited to continue the fight. Get ready for a fight, he tells Grease, right? Mm-hmm. So it's like this newfound mission has invigorated his connection to the Force, which makes him feel better, right? My thing is, too, I have another question with Seer. Like, I understand that she's not the same, but how is it that you lose connection with the Force that badly? Like I know she talks to Cal about it, like he mentioned he's been like his emotions, he's losing control, and Seer says that like it's because he's losing his connection with the Force. He needs to kind of get that stronger bond, which is the explanation for these flashbacks. But it's something I feel like she's still able to use the Force. I really feel like she may be hiding a greater power that she has.
Oh, she definitely still could probably use the Force. You can't just cut yourself off from that altogether.
Yeah.
Like, I'm sure there's some sort of inner battles that is going on inside of her. Like, to be honest, though, it just seems like she is very tempted by the dark side, which concerns me. If that's the case, like, what made her cut off herself from the Force altogether?
Is she a Sith? We'll have to find out.
That would be crazy.
I know, right?
But I'm waiting for a twist, so I'm sure part of these twists have something to do with Seer. And that's yes. At least I think I think so as well. I think we can like agree on, right?
Yeah, definitely. There's lots of mystery around Seer, so we're gonna have to see how that play out. How about the Zeffo? We learned a lot about their civilization, their planet, that they're Force sensitive. It's really cool to me that you're learning more about other Force sensitive creatures other than just Jedi or like potential Jedi, and that they used it like separate than how the Jedi used it. Like they weren't a part of the Jedi Order, or like they predate the Jedi Order. I'm really interested to learn more about the Zeffo.
Yeah, especially all these statues and whatever. It just seems they're very Force sensitive, but in what capacity is what I'm curious about.
And were they like Force sensitive? Like were they like is it gray or gray Jedi?
Yeah.
Or silver Jedi? Yeah, gray Jedi, right? Where they're like used the light and the dark side Like they're not bound to one, right? I'm not in it with all the lore, Nick. You have to
No.
educate me.
You're 100% right. There's a whole nother layer here that could probably talk hours about. I think it's dumb. Sorry, that's harsh. But like, there's Jedi and Sith, and as Sith, you have to be 100% bad, and as Jedi, you have to be 100% good. To me, I feel like there's so much of a gray area.
Yes.
It's always a miss that Jedi always had to be so pure and good, and could never have a wife or a husband, or always had to be complete to the Jedi Order, and could never think bad thoughts, or else they'll turn to the dark side.
Yeah.
That's why I went towards those gray Jedi more, because I related them to more, because you can't just be good or bad. There's got to be a little bit of in between. They don't talk about that much in Star Wars, and I wish that they brought that up more than usual.
It's always about the Skywalker like storyline, right? But there is so much, even like how they make lightsabers and how they have to go on this journey and get the crystals, and like it's a part, like there's so many cool aspects that in popular medium we don't really see a lot in Star Wars. But yeah, I wonder if the Zeffo were kind of like not gray Jedi, but like kind of use the Force in that way where they use both sides. I'm curious to learn more about them as well. Speaking of Zeffo, let's talk about the planet, because this is apparently one of the biggest planets that we're going to be exploring in the game. I felt like this was a pretty huge planet. We talked about it. You get lost, but I do like how it looked. It's beautiful. I've been loving, even in Braca, like the different areas that you're exploring in this game. Breathtaking.
As long as you don't have so many god dang desert planets, I'm happy. So far, we haven't been on any desert planet. And everything has looked different, and I'm happy about that. The Zeffo planet is really cool because it's like, it still has greenery, but it's also cold. It has ice, and I don't know. It's very different looking. And then Braca,
and everything's trying to kill you, because Braca, not everything was trying to kill you.
No,
there were like some things that were just like going around, and they were very docile. But in Zeffo, everything legit is trying to kill you.
Yes.
Which really makes for cool interactions and enemies to fight. Of course, we have our stormtroopers. I will say that there is a lot of redemption thoughts I had about the stormtroopers, at least the troopers in general. Stormtroopers still suck. Their aim is horrible. I don't get it. But the like trooper commanders and the heavy assault troopers, very hard. All the melee troopers, the scout troopers, very difficult to battle, I found.
Yeah, the scout troopers are like anything that's melee bound is hard, especially then you have the stormtroopers shooting at you. So I always try to get rid of them the quickest, because it's easy to deflect their laser beams, their laser guns back to them, and then get rid of them, and then deal with the scout troopers. But they're difficult, and you have to be like methodical with them. Yeah,
and you actually have to think harder about the controls too, because you're unlocking all these skills. It's not just like button mashing and hoping for the best like situation out of a battle. You actually have to think about how you approach these battles. How are you finding the controls so far for combat?
Better than I think playing with them a lot more. You get a lot used to them. So I feel a lot better with them. It still feels a little clunky, but again, the lightsabers combat, it's really clean. But again, you have to think when you're fighting. You can't just slash, because you have to guard, you have to parry, you have to do a bunch of things in order to fight some of these enemies, which maybe that's where my frustration comes. But not, life is not easy, Not every game can be easy.
The frustration comes in our ability, not the game.
Yes.
Not the game. It's been doing a decent job so far. Is there anything else that you want to comment on or add about this chapter as we went through it?
I'm becoming a bigger fan of Cal as the game goes by.
Yeah, same. Yeah, I know. Cal is like, you're here defending Cal. Cal is becoming a part of the crew. Cal is our friend now. And I can't wait to see how Cal's journey continues on as we go to Kashyyyk and explore Cordova's path and maybe meet a Wookiee friend as well. But we'll have to wait for all of that next time on AutoSave. AutoSave is produced and hosted by Nick Andrade and myself, Camille Salazar-Hadaway. The show is also produced by Dylan Wilson. Gameplay and additional elements provided by Chris Zeiser. Technical production by Greg Fillion. Executive producer Clayton Hansler. You can follow the show at AutoSave Podcast on Twitter and AutoSave Pod on Instagram, YouTube, and Twitch. You can subscribe to the show wherever you're listening to it right now. And if it happens to be Apple Podcast, kindly leave us a rating and a review, but only if it's good. AutoSave is a Soda original hosted on the Soda Podcast Network.